Hey everybody, I'm Dave with Growing the Home Garden. It's February, and this is one of my favorite times of the year because I actually get to get my seeds started for the summer. And one of my most favorite plants to have in the garden are peppers. So that's what we're going to start with today. We're going to get some peppers planted. I'm going to tell you about the varieties of peppers that we're going to do this year. And we'll talk about how we're going to do things a week over week. Because what we're actually going to do is we're going to do a series of seed starting videos, starting with the peppers. And I'm just going to show you what I do step to step to step, and then go back and look at the progress of what we did a week prior and have just kind of a fun time getting all our seeds sorted and getting ready for the spring growing season. So I'm really excited about peppers though. And let's go through some of the varieties that I've got picked out here. For example, a Peach Habanero pepper. Now these are a spicy pepper, pretty hot, hotter than a jalapeno. Do they say? They don't tell me how many Schofield units it is on there, but these are pretty hot. They're good for flavoring all kinds of different things, but we're going to try some of those this year. This one is a packet of seed that I have saved from some brown jalapenos. Brown jalapenos are a very large size jalapeno pepper. They are excellent for filling with like cream cheese and making jalapeno poppers with. They are just delicious. They are not extraordinarily hot either. So you can give these to kids. My kids actually like them. They just have just a faint little taste of spice to it. Of course, the longer they're on the plant, the little spicier that they get, I tend to find. I like having paprika peppers in the garden. These are good. They've got a nice flavor. They are a hot pepper. Not quite like the smoked paprika you get in the powder that you put in. These have a little bit of spice and tang to them. Basilio Bajo, hopefully I have pronounced that right. I always like to grow that. Kind of a long pepper used in a mole sauce and stuff similar to that. And of course, we've got to have a jalapeno Craig's Grand. We had the brown jalapeno, but this is just a different variety of jalapeno. Love the jalapenos. Now, in the sweet pepper varieties, we have a golden Marconi pepper here. That'll look like that. And those are just a nice sweet pepper, very good size. They're probably about this large when they're formed. Rosso, which is a delicious pimento sized pepper. So kind of a little smaller size, sweet, not a whole lot of seeds in each. Grew some of those pimento peppers this year, and they were just delicious. I would eat them out of the garden. They were like eating candy in the garden. Quadratto di Rosso, one of my favorite red peppers. It's a very blocky sized pepper. Good flavor. It's a red. I love the colored peppers. I'm not a huge green pepper person, but when they've got color, they've got flavor, and they're nice and sweet. They're just delicious that way. And then we'll do this one here too, which is Golden California Wonder. That is a classic pepper, just another bell pepper style pepper. And we'll probably do some other peppers going forward. I'm not going to plant them today, but like an orange bell pepper, I always like to have that. And we'll see. I've got a huge collection of seeds that I've saved over the years, so I need to kind of figure out exactly what I'm doing. So next, let's get into actually talking about planting the seeds. Now, I think it's very important to plan out what you're going to do with your seeds and how you want to grow them. I am using what you call 10-20 flats. This one here, if you look at the bottom, has some holes in the bottom. The one underneath it does not have holes in the bottom. And I do that so that when I water, I have something that catches the water in, keeps the moisture in the area, but allows some of that water to move away from the actual pots, and so nothing gets really too wet. The other thing I'm doing, and I love these kind of pots, these are made from coconut shells, just kind of a discarded waste product. And you can see how they're formed right there. You've got 8 of them in this little cell. And these are all so that you can break them apart. It's actually easier to use a pair of scissors to break those up after they've been wet a little bit. I found that they are very tough to pull apart, so that's one disadvantage of them. But they do hold together very well. They're also porous, so you won't have any trouble for your roots when you go to plant them out there. If you get roots sticking out of the sides, which you will, those roots will just find soil. You don't have to worry about them getting pot bound or anything like that. And these are completely biodegradable in time. I found sometimes that some of these get left behind season after season and they don't degrade right away. And so I'll just take those, toss them out into the air, and then the birds will use them for nesting material. So they're pretty cool. They're biodegradable. Nothing plastic or anything like that with those. And these, of course, they are plastic, but they are reusable year after year. I've probably had these about 6 to 8 years somewhere, and I'm still using the same ones. You just clean them out and keep going. Now in here, I've just used a regular potting soil. You can use a seed starting soil mix if you want to. I could not actually find any in the store this year. So I went to go look, and rather than make my own, I just decided to go with something that was store-bought. There's all kinds of different recipes for a seed starter mix, but a potting soil will do the trick. I mean, you think about it, seeds are used to growing in the natural environment, outside, outdoors, in the ground. They shouldn't have any trouble with something like this. Now, when it's all said and done, I'll have a plastic lid that goes on top of these flats. It's made to size that. And then I'll take the whole flat and put it out in the garage on heat mats. And that's typically how I grow stuff. It does take a little bit more time if they don't have heat, so I always want to put that heat mat underneath it, especially with peppers. They love the heat. So if you can get a heat mat to put underneath them or keep them in a very warm location, that's going to be ideal for making your peppers grow. Now, if you take a look at what we've got here, these are mini blinds that I have just cut up into pieces. I cut them this direction first into little sections and then cut them lengthwise. And these are going to be my plant labels. It's very easy to write on them with a regular old pencil. Pencil will stay in there just fine. It won't have any trouble rubbing off in the water or the sun. It will be perfect for labeling your plants. And so all you have to do is write what you're doing like this. Quadratto, Rosso. Put it in there, and then you can shove that in your individual plant pots. I wanted something small enough, that's not very clear, small enough there that you can stick it in these pots and still get that clear lid over top of everything. Okay, so we're going to start with our jalapenos first. These are the Craig's Grand jalapeno. And whenever you get a package of any kind of seeds, always look at the back. There's a ton of good instructions on the back here. I don't know how well you can see this or make it out, but they've got planting instructions that tell you a little bit about timing, location, and just hints and tips that always check the back of those packets. Some companies do a little bit more than others, but they all usually give you a little bit of good info. And of course, here's what the jalapeno seeds look like right there. Now, for this flat, I'm going to use 2 seeds and put in each cell tray. That way, if one of them fails to germinate, I've at least got a chance that another one will germinate. And starting off, that's all I'm going to do. I'm starting early enough that if I do need to plant some extra seeds, then I still have that time. So it's not going to be a big deal. If something doesn't work out, I still have a shot to get it that way. So now I'm going to stick my label here, and I'm going to know that these 2 here are the Craig's Grand jalapenos. I'll just shove that all the way down in there, and the lid should be able to go right on top of that. And so I'm going to do that process with all of these seeds going through right here. Okay, I'm partway through this, and I actually decided to go back and do 3 in each little planter because I just thought I've got all these seeds. I'm never going to use them all. If I've got a few extras, it's something I can give away or plant out in the garden for just some extra produce. So it never hurts to have some extras, and these can all be divided up later very easily. It's not a big deal. You just water the pot really well, make it nice and loose, then lightly dig them out, and you should be able to transplant them. Peppers transplant very easily, so it's never anything to really be concerned about. So as I'm going through these seeds, I'm making sure that I'm leaving them on the top so I know which cells I've put them in. And then after I've got all the cells that I want to plant, I'll come back through and I'll just pop each of these down, tuck them in so that they can be all settled in for growing. Now, these next ones are the sweet peppers. I did the hot ones first. These are the golden Marconis I'm starting with over here. And again, I will do about 3 in each pot now. I think I dropped an extra one. That's not a big deal. just like that, and save the extra. There. Now we've got all the plants, or I'm sorry, all the seeds put in the pots. We're going to just come back and we're going to push each one down just a little bit, tuck them in with a little soil as we go. Peppers just need a little bit of soil on top of them. They don't need a huge amount, just lightly press them in. And I'm going to do that for all of these. Sometimes you got to be careful because the seed will stick to your finger as you're doing this and then carry over into the wrong pot. Just watch what you're doing. So if you don't have coconut core pots or anything like that around, the alternative is you can use something like those plastic cups, and you can check out the video. I'll post a link up there and put one in the description that you can use to do the same method. And I used that when I was doing a farmer's market plant sale business, and it really was great for making a lot of plants in a small amount of space. So, you know, space is a valuable thing, so you got to find a way to maximize it. But in this case, I'm just growing for myself for the most part, for our family, and I don't need to grow a humongous amount, even though that is a very good method because it creates a mini greenhouse and it allows you to keep the moisture inside, keep the heat inside, and they grow very well that way. Now the last step in this process before we put it on the heat mats is going to water. And I'm going to remove these pots because I don't want them to get all wet and everything before I plant them, so I'm going to keep them out. But I'm going to water what's left right here. All right, so I'm just going to gently water a little bit in each cell. Try not to water directly on the seeds because you could push them around a bit and they could pop out. I've seen a couple here that I've done that too already, so I'll go back and I'll fix them up. Now another thing you can do rather than pushing your seeds down in is you could just sprinkle some extra dirt on top of it. Soil. I know some people will get upset when I call it dirt, but you know what I mean. And then I'm going to dump the rest of this water down in the bottom of the flat and just let the flat absorb, or the pots are going to absorb that water and bring it up through the rest of the soil. So you should start seeing germination for these seeds in about 7 to 10 days. It could take a little bit longer than that. It might take 14 or 21, depending upon how old your seeds are. And then it's still possible that maybe you're using really old seed and may not germinate at all. So fresher seed usually germinates better, but peppers do have a long viability. So they can be several years old and you'll be just fine on them. So a lot of my seed is pretty old seed, and I'm trying to get out whatever I can get out and try to use it up so I can start getting some fresh seed out there. We'll see how these do. But the next video that I do regarding seeds, that is, I've got another video I'm working on with Buckeyes that I needed to get out last fall that I hadn't done yet. But the next video is going to be a highlight of what these do. And we'll see what's germinated, we'll check in with those, and then we'll plant something else new. So if this sounds interesting to you and you want to follow along, hit the subscribe button, like this video, and I really appreciate you watching. I'm Dave with Grande Jalapeno. Catch you next time.